Thank you all for coming. Emma, do you want to call the roll?
Golding.
Yes.
Hoffman.
Here.
Muir.
Here.
Yearman.
Here.
I'm present. We have a full quorum.
Do you want to stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First, we got the approval of the minutes. We have a bunch of minutes to approve here. May 6th, regular meeting, May 12th, special meeting, the May 13th special joint meeting between the Township Board and the Planning Commission, and the May 19th special meeting and the June 1st special meeting. Everybody get a chance to review those?
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve those and place them on file.
I'll second.
Motion from Hoffman, second from Golding. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Next up, request from the floor. Carla?
I guess I don't have a print of enough to pass down to you, please. Testing.
Probably needs to be turned on still. Thank you, Brian.
Don't know how to do it. Thank you, Brian. Testing. It has been brought to my attention that we public commenters need not be so reactive, hostile, and aggressive toward the board members. So, I purposely am going to use a milder tone, but with expectations that the board still realize how sincere my concerns are. Please listen, and if appropriate, please reply and address my concerns either when you have your own comment time or within your own discussion regarding an associated agenda item. Answer my concerns in some way. First, please speak up so everyone in the room can actually hear you. No hands in front of your face, no mumbling, talk loud enough to be heard. Garrett has told me he has told you each how to sit or speak so the new microphones will transmit the best. Thank you. Do not expect to put an agenda item before the public only a day, possibly 2 days, only then immediately to act upon it. For instance, this evening. Let us hear great open discussion by each of you before making a decision about any agenda item, so we know what you are thinking and thus not appear as if the decision was already made behind the scene. You do need to have public input to represent us, not just represent yourself. We are looking for transparency. Another instance needing transparency due to even the present already noted instances of nepotism, not of financial gain, but of favors, connections, voting in a particular direction because of people connection rather than for knowledgeable, informed purposes. I am referring to the policy on the agenda about employment of relatives. This is serious enough that the topic has been mentioned at previous meetings and consequently has brought forth very open and concerning relationships that already exist. The public definitely needs to be heard about this particular topic. Perhaps you as a board during the meeting about your ideas, then the moderator could ask for comments at that time about the topic. Then bring the agenda item back to the board before any decision is made. This policy already has led to too much favoritism with connections for serious decision-making affecting residents and conflict of interest. This is a topic that could be discussed tonight and brought back at the next meeting, giving everyone time to think about it. do not act upon this particular item, agenda item tonight, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Yeah. And if you could state your name for the record as well.
Good evening, my name is Stefan Scholl. I'm a Bear Creek Township resident and local attorney. Devote a significant amount of my time to the practice of real property law and enjoy working with my colleague Joel Worcester, wonderful attorney. You have an excellent attorney. I just want to say this is my first time here. It's quite a facility. And I drive by Spring Lake Park every day and just am very excited to use that. So I'm very excited about what's going on with the township. Congratulations, Garrett, on your appointment. I look forward to working with you. I've worked with you as an assessor. And so let me get into my spiel. I've got a little public service announcement. It's regarding the DTE matter, and I was told that's going to be on tonight's agenda, and I don't see it. Maybe it will be, but that's what I'm addressing. The Michigan Farm Bureau advises landowners to consult an attorney before agreeing to any utility easement, as companies often acquire unnecessarily broad rights. Key recommendations include fighting for compensation based on maximum possible use and utilizing state laws that reimburse reasonable attorney fees during eminent domain negotiations. To protect your farming operations, and this goes with private property owners that aren't farmers also, and your property rights, the Michigan Farm Bureau and legal experts emphasize several key strategies. Hire an attorney. Under the Michigan Uniform Condemnation Procedures Act, condemning agencies are required to reimburse your reasonable attorney fees, meaning you have no out-of-pocket costs to secure legal representation. Calculate maximum damages. Do not settle for the initial offer. You are entitled to compensation for the full fair market value of the property rights taken, as well as severance damages to the remaining parcel. Ensure the payout accounts for the absolute maximum possible future use of the easement, not just immediate plans. And that information is all from the Michigan Farm Bureau. So I would urge all township residents, and I've already made this spiel over in Resort, please contact an attorney. I am partnering up with an attorney, one of the Michigan's preeminent condemnation law attorneys, and am happy to answer any questions that any township residents may have without any cost or obligation. Again, Stefan Scholl, northernmichiganlawyer.com. Have a wonderful meeting. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Stefan. And I will be addressing DTE in the supervisor's portion of the report, but it is not an agenda item. Any other public comment at this time? Karen?
Karen Dodge, and I'm going to talk about the Anderson well because I got some information today. This is the well that it's on Anderson Roads. It's owned by the city of Petoskey. But the residents around this well are concerned with our private wells for if and when this is actually developed. The concern is our wells going dry, possibly, or water quality being affected. I have been in contact with the city. I've also been in contact with Eagle to get some information. Today I was told by the city that nothing is happening. And really too, I'm realizing I guess initially that this well was being developed for the Intertown Development Complex there. But now, too, there was a hotel that was approved on Anderson. It was a couple years ago. Not really sure where that's going. There's a possibility of the Nehemiah having a shelter out there. I know Resort Township was involved with that. I'm gonna call it just the water sewer study from, maybe more than a year ago now. But really what I was told by the city, because, wanting to know information, what's going on, what's happening in that, I was just told that I have to go through the township. So here I am. I'm asking the township for regular updates, how to access any evaluations or reports, any results that come through, any notifications that are possibly going out to people in the area if a study is being done. I know it's a process, I've been told that it's gonna take a while, it's gonna take some time. The other part of this, though, is if our wells are going to be affected, how is the township providing a safeguard for our public interest? I have gone on to Well Logic, which Eagle has. It's a statewide groundwater database. I'm seeing approximately 188 wells within a mile radius of this Anderson well. Also, too, there's the big Meyer well on one side. There's the casino, I've been told it's a well on the other side, so now here's another big well in the middle of that. And especially this Anderson well, it does not need to be developed for our water needs. We have our wells. But if something happens to that, we don't want to be negatively affected. And I know there is a process, I've heard about that too. And it's just that, I'm coming here to the township then, asking for, again, that transparency. Let us know what is happening, or we will call too, but would appreciate getting, some regular updates as this gets going. And what specific protections are you giving to the residents in that area? Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to follow up on that one item a little bit. One of the issues is that Anderson well was put in first. And then Meyer came along and they put another well only 1,000 feet away from that well. And when you have two wells, and it's actually 4 actual wells, that close together, it makes a cone of depression. And that can go a long ways out from the source of the well. And when Meyer put that well in, nobody was notified. None of the neighbors were notified. And people have since lost their wells, and no one has ever said anything. So this is a concern. And in fact, I talked to Denny about this, it's been over a year ago. And his response to me was, when I said that we were concerned, he said, well, you should be. And he's not here now. So what we're asking is to be represented in this. One of the things that I would ask for is, if the city of Petoskey is doing this and you're gonna have some kind of leverage in this, some kind of well mitigation fund for anybody who does lose a well once they decide to do this. Preferably, they would put a well someplace farther away from the other wells that are already there, of the other big wells. Another thing I wanted to talk about was meetings. We heard this last meeting on Monday, how many different meetings that Denny was going to. And we know that last year he went to a brownfield meeting, and then you all said you knew nothing about it and nothing about what was going on at that meeting. At the beginning of the county meetings, each member goes through and says every meeting that they went to and gives a synopsis of what happened at those meetings that are relevant to citizens. And I would like to see all of you do that too. So, thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Any other public comment, Marion?
So, just as Carla was talking about things, I was thinking, I just want to make sure everyone realizes that the comments that we make are not anywhere personal. They are because of positions you have and the positions we have, which are, to elect you or not to elect you, but also to bring about information that is important. So I will continue. In 2023, we finished a project in our home, and the young assessor, Garrett Muir, accompanied the final building inspection of that project. The project was off to the side of my house and had nothing to do with the upstairs bedroom area. The young man, who did not identify himself as having an assessor position or even the assessor's assistant, quickly went to my upstairs. I felt immediately threatened and wasn't sure why this was happening. I later found out that Garrett was working in the assessor's department of the township offices. This really got me wondering about the assessor's policies. Were they doing this to everyone? This spring, completely out of the blue, I decided to attend a board of review meeting in which one of the members asked how the assessing is done, and Mr. Muir stated, "I go in with the final inspection of a building project." I then realized that I was not the only one. This had become a policy for the assessor. My family has done building projects in the past, and the building department had never brought the assessor. This must have been a new thing. I spoke with Denny and Garrett about this and asked them to stop this practice because it is against the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, as well as the Article 1, Section 11 of the Michigan State Constitution. I was met with anger from the chief assessor. Apparently this had been done for 5 years prior to my complaint. Denny told me I was the first person to complain. Why was this now a practice of the assessor's office? The ordinary man may not know it was against the law. To sum this up, those in the positions at present will not be there forever, but the Fourth Amendment will continue to be the law of the land. I want an assurance from this board in a public forum and a written policy on record, and it shouldn't really need to be because it already is a state law, that this will no longer be the practice of the assessor's office of Bear Creek Township. People have the right to feel safe in their homes. And I will give you each a copy of this, please.
Thank you, Mary. Any other public comment? All right, hearing none, we will go out of public comment and move on with the agenda. I'm pulling double duty here with the screens and all the papers, so bear with me. Next step would be the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or deletions? If not, I'd make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So first thing on the agenda is the fire hall update. We're getting pretty close to the end here. There's a couple items that we're still working on. There's a couple items with our punch list, and I've got some items up here listed. The big thing is the Zoom system. Materials have been ordered for that, but they haven't arrived, so there's no installation date yet, but as soon as they get in there, he thinks that it'll be about 2 weeks for them to install it, so hopefully we can get a video system going online. Landscaping is expected to start next week. I actually saw they have a tractor down here with a rake. They were pulling some dirt around the property to level it out. We do have DTE coming in to fix a gas line regulator. Should be in the next 2 or 3 weeks for the generator to make sure that it's sized appropriately. In the building sign, we have a easement agreement now with GLD that's been recorded. So they should be coming in and getting their transformer box out on the road, moved over farther south from the property line so that we can get our actual township road sign put in place. Does anybody have any other questions on where we're at with the fire hall?
I do. I just, I want to say that I do think, after talking especially to you, we should put in another bank of speakers, or, you know, in here, and not move the ones in back forward, but put in a new bank so that hopefully people can hear better. I think it's important. It's gonna be kind of costly, but it's worth it.
So I got a quote, and I don't have it today, and I'm not sure if it's still valid. It might be similar, but it's been more than 30 days. For another group of speakers, I believe it was 5 or 6. If I recall, it was approximately $6,500. But I can get another quote and then bring that back to the board in July.
That'd be
along with
great.
that.
Okay. I think we should do everything we can to make sure everybody can hear.
Okay, if nothing else on the fire hall. Spring Lake Park update. This project is also nearing completion rapidly. They're approaching what they call substantial completion, which is when we can open up the park for use. There'd still be some items here and there, paint touch-ups, possible landscaping things. The big thing that they were waiting on and why we couldn't open up last weekend like we were hoping is some parts that came in for the toilets, specifically the flushing of the eyes. Those, they either weren't shipped or they were damaged when they came in, so they had to order more. And then the other thing is one of the partitions for the women's bathroom, same thing. So they're gonna actually make a temporary partition in the meantime, or put in a backup partition that they have, because that's gonna take a couple weeks to come in. They're thinking June 24th. But they think they might be able to get the rest of the stuff finalized in the next couple of days so we could possibly be open this weekend. Brian, did they end up getting a temporary today?
No, not yet. They got a couple of things that they gotta get installed and
Okay.
taken care of, but I'm guessing by this weekend.
Yeah, so the goal is gonna be to get it open this weekend. We're getting a lot of calls, a lot of requests. But overall, the park is looking really good. I'm sure a lot of people have driven past it. I want it to be open so everybody can go in and see it. The only thing that I expect to come through as far as outstanding contract changes is the way the contract was written for the concrete. It was gonna be after it was poured. They were going to measure and then confirm it was an estimate that was based in there. And there were some concrete changes from the walkways due to various utility things and curvatures. So that might change a little bit here or there, but they're gonna be measuring that Friday. And then the tree planting, if the audience recalls, I've been bugging people for signing up for that. We did go down there and it was a really great time. I've been saying about 25 people showed up, but I got the numbers and it was 31. So we were hoping for 20. We went into the day with only 9 signed up, and when it actually came to the tree planting itself, we had over 30 people there. So that was really incredible, and if you haven't had a chance to drive by, hopefully this weekend you can go in and see all the hard work that the community came together. It was really fantastic. Tom, you were there, appreciate that. We had some park committee members there. Mitch, you were there. So it was a really, really awesome thing for the community in the park. But does anybody have any questions on Spring Lake Park?
Take water samples, I'm sure, they're gonna, before.
Yeah, they were taking water samples earlier this week. Or I guess it would be Sunday that he started.
That's good, it's coming along very well.
So the next item on the agenda is the 4 trustees. It was asked about 4 trustees a couple meetings ago, and we've been pursuing what that would look like. We've asked Joel for help in determining what our ballot language would look like. And Joel, I know this came over confidential. Are we allowed to discuss our individual options?
That's up to the board. I mean, I provided, the board had asked me to bring some sample language, and I provided a few options. I would say that either are satisfactory, they're not fundamentally different, but they have some nuances to them. One was used in another community, has been adapted for Bear Creek Township. The other one is based largely on a Michigan Townships Association model provision. So again, that's up to the board if it cares to discuss them. The fundamental differences between the two, they both mention adding 2 trustee positions. They both mention the election and when that would occur if it's approved in the prior election, the prior general election. The one focuses on the number of trustees as being moving from 2 to 4. The other one also talks about moving from 2 to 4, but puts it in the context of it becoming a 7-member board. I think either of them are understandable, either of them would be acceptable. I think it's a matter of preference for the board.
I appreciate you doing this for us, thank you. My opinion is the language that has the 7 members so that, people understand, people might not even know what the trustees really are in the question, but they start thinking, okay, 5 to 7, then they start to see, okay, so there's 7 people on the board overall, because the other one doesn't mention overall. I'm kind of a fan of the more information is better.
The option 2.
It would be option 2, and I don't have
I
it on
agree
the
with that.
screen.
Absolutely, because the reason, a few years back even, and I know other people have said, always said, there's 5-member trustees. They lumped us all together. Well, there's a supervisor, there's 7, so we should go with number 2.
Do either of you have an opinion?
No, I agree with that. I guess I would just add that, when the board votes to approve this language, you also should include in your motion, that this be on the November 2026 ballot. And then I can get this information over
Oh, I
to
see.
Susie. We're a little ways away from ballot proofs for November yet, but, if you include that in your motion, I can get that to her.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the language, shall Bear Creek Township add 2 trustee positions to the township board, bringing the board to 7 members, with those 2 additional trustees being first elected at the November 2028 general election, and that it should go on to the 2026 November election. Yeah, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There we go. 2026. Website updates. I met with 6 or 7 different vendors over the different things that we discussed. Some of them as late last week. So I don't have an RFP for the board to look at, but I've got a lot of really good information. And I actually have received a couple sample RFPs from other townships that have done similar work. So I'll have something for you guys at the July meeting, but I don't have an RFP at this point. So unless you guys have any questions, there's not too much to go over.
Sounds good. Get that, those, we can look them over.
Moving right along. The ARPA funds, if anybody doesn't know, so ARPA funds, they were given out, I believe it was a COVID response, kind of a stimulus and protection. And they're coming due this year. They have to be spent this year. They were given out multiple years ago. They were required to be allocated for specific things initially, and then the government opened it up for local units of government that are only up to a certain size, that we could spend them on whatever we deem is necessary, with kind of the guidance that they recommend that it goes to infrastructure of some sorts, not recurring costs, because they don't want us to rely on it. So that's where this is. This is the remainder of the ARPA funds, and we have $50,000 currently allocated to sewer, and we have $54,740 allocated to building improvements up at 373 North Division Road, where our offices currently are. Meeting or 2 ago, we talked about getting an architect to take a look at our sidewalk out front underneath where the awning sticks out. The concrete is failing in a pretty bad way. It's becoming, frankly, a little bit of a danger, a tripping hazard. And then the posts where they attach are starting to kind of rust out on the bottom. So we're thinking it might be a good use of the funds. They have to be used for the building maintenance. And we did get that back from Bluebird Day Architecture, Mark Boudet, and he's quoting $13,500 to write up a set of plans that we could then take out to bid for the project itself. One thing I do want to note, and I talked to him today on this, is the language he uses in his quote is to reference the repair of the columns and flat work, but I did confirm that it's for replacing the concrete. Now, when we go out to bid, there will be additional costs for the actual work itself, but I just wanted to make sure that it's for replacing the concrete and not just putting patchwork in. Another thing that I do think is important that we consider, at least talk about, is our ice melt stops partially through that walkway. but stops before some of the doors that are used as entrances. So it might be worth considering that when that concrete goes to get poured, that we put ice melt tubes in, and we don't need to, currently our furnace wouldn't be able to handle the ice melt, but our furnace is also good. I don't think there's any reason to replace it just to add ice melt. But if we put the tubes in now, then when the furnace, does go bad and it has to be replaced, we could possibly pipe it in and it's ready to go. And that way all of the entrances to the building has the ice melt in the concrete. Just something to consider. He said it doesn't change his fee. If we want to do it, then it depends, he'll put it in the bid to go out. But do we want to move forward with, having him write up a set of plans for $13,500?
I read over his contract, I believe, and it needs to be done. And, yeah, those columns are rusted, the bolts are gone. There's like one leg left in them. And yeah, who knows what's under there, so yes, I'd agree.
And we have to use it. If we don't use it, then the government takes it back. So I think this is a good use of the money. It'll help people, it'll keep people safe. Connie, Emma, any thoughts?
I agree. I certainly want to make use of the funds, and it needs to be done for the sake of safety.
Joe?
Oh, it's a safety issue. It needs to be done.
Those funds will be used for that.
Then we can use those funds.
So then a motion would be in order to accept the quote for the proposal for professional services.
I would move to accept the quote and to use ARPA funding to pay for the quote.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Roads, there's not really too much, but I just wanted to share. I did talk to Brent, as I was mentioned last month, that they were gonna be making the Click Road Bridge kind of one way at a time, so that the bridge could remain open due to the spread at which the bids came in and the timing that it was gonna be for having the bridge replaced. So they ordered some delineators that are gonna be coming in, and then they're possibly gonna be putting up yield signs. I don't know what direction, I don't know if they know what direction yet. I think they're just gonna take a look. I know they've been doing a study. I saw them out there earlier today. I don't know if they were checking on it or if they were removing. But just so everybody's aware, just be on the lookout now to be coming. It might get a little squeezed right there at the bridge, depending on exactly what they do. And then dust control went down last month, and then we have another order for dust control going down later this month. And that's really all there is for roads at this time. Somebody have any questions?
The only thing I got to say is, I hope the road commission, they did some roads around the area in our township. There's some roads yet that got washed out during all that flooding and all that stuff, where I can think of one spot on East Mitchell. You don't see it when you're driving on the road, but I was driving on the tractor and it was up in the air. And it's gotta be 1.5 feet, but it's not real wide. But if you dropped a wheel down in that, or a motorcycle or something, so they really do need to step it up and fix those, get that stuff fixed.
I agree.
It's a safety thing. I know they got all around the county is just as bad, so it's a big project.
What's any date on when they're gonna do the chip sealing and stuff we had?
No date, I don't know the date.
Or did you already say that? I'm sorry.
I did not, but I can get that for you.
Our contract stuff with them, I guess is what I'm asking.
Sounds good?
There was gonna be a road commission meeting tomorrow morning, but I did get notice today that it was canceled.
Good on that.
Hiawatha House, Denny brought up previously that we were having some problems with the renters there, and Joel, I understand I can lean on you a little bit here. It was really Denny was dealing with this privately with you, if you wanna share an updates.
And just by way of review or context a little, my understanding is the township came to acquire this house as part of its need to acquire the land it was on, or a portion of the land it was on, to improve a sewer pump station, and didn't have room otherwise to do it. So that's how the township came to be in this business. And the township has engaged Northern Homes to be the rental agent for the home. There's been a year lease that expires at the end of July. It has been problematic in payments, although partial payments have been made, and there's been some effort to catch up, and then it doesn't quite get there. And it's gotten to the point where the rental agent has asked for action to be taken, and I agree that that needs to occur. We've provided the statutory notice that's required before the eviction action can be filed. I have worked with the rental agent to clean up some of the accounting just to make it presentable for exactly what is owed. And it looks like here by the end of the week or early next week, we'll be filing the action. It'll take some matter of time for that to be scheduled, and I'll keep you updated on that.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions for Joel?
Thanks.
All right, moving right along, new business. First meeting and probably one of the longest agendas in 5 years, but at least we're making progress. Okay, supervisor transition. At the Monday meeting, the board was discussing keeping Denny on, what that would look like. I think we need to just divest. I talked to Denny. He wants to spend time with his grandkids. He wants to spend time with his wife. I think it'd be cleaner for the office. I think it'd be cleaner for him. And talking to him, he agrees that we just really need to separate. He wants to be home, and I don't want to be the one holding him back. That being said, there's a couple things that, while I could figure them out, it would probably be significantly easier and better for the residents that it affects if we were to keep him on so that I can get access to some of his stuff, get access to some of his notes, see his thought process on things. While I've been shadowing Denny in a lot of ways, there are some things that it's just simpler for there to be one point of contact for residents as they come in. And during Denny's, period where he submitted his resignation, but he hadn't resigned yet because it hadn't been accepted by the board, and in times of uncertainty, we started going over, a couple things, but we didn't know what was gonna happen, so we didn't get too into the weeds because there's still the regular job stuff to do. So all that being said, the big things, it's really more the assessing than the supervisor stuff that I need to, hopefully you guys will approve me to keep him for a couple hours just to figure some of this stuff out. But like the land divisions and the parcel combinations, he has a lot of private knowledge with conversations of residents on what divisions they're looking at, what's gonna be approved, what's not gonna be approved. So I'd like to sit down with him and go through every individual division and possibly bring in, residents for meetings that have these divisions on file, just to make sure that we're on the same page. And that's gonna take the majority of the time. I wanna go through his meeting calendar with him, make sure that there's nothing that he has, Zoom links or anything like that, that I won't be able to have access to or I'm unaware of. While I'll now be taking over, the assessing, there is still a process that you have to go through with the state of turning around the paperwork. There's red tape and everything you do. And it'd be significantly easier if him and I went to the state together as opposed to me petitioning to have him removed and then me put on as the assessor of record. Any pertinent communications that he has, I want to go through his email with him and see, what stuff do I really need to be aware of and what stuff has been finalized and taken care of. And then one of the biggest things is going to be account logins. Denny's been doing this for 33 years, and as you guys know, a lot of stuff, especially when it comes to government accounts, they make you change the passwords every 3 months, every 6 months. And there are so many accounts that the township has that he has access to, and we need to get those passwords changed. I probably could be reaching out to these organizations and getting that stuff changed over, but I could see that easily taking 6 months, 8 months by the time I get through everything. If I can just sit down with him, over the course of a couple days and go through like our MDOT account, our MEG accounts, any of the foundation accounts that we have, anything really, and just get that stuff figured out, it'll be a lot smoother. So what I would propose would be $35 an hour, up to 24 hours a week, and then complete separation by the end of June. In talking to Denny, while he was unsure of exactly what was gonna happen, he does have a couple medical appointments, so he's still on our dental and vision until, he's gone. He did ask if it's possible that we could keep him on until the end of the month, because he can't switch off of those until he gets on to a new one. I looked it up, it's approximately $119 for him to remain on for the month. It seems like a fair request, because his resignation did get kind of dragged out, but I don't anticipate using him for 24 hours a week for 4 weeks. I anticipate, the first week is gonna be the heaviest, and then tapering off, and then maybe not even the last week of June, but.
Mr. Chairman, may
Yes,
I add a potential item to your list for consideration of something that could use some assistance? This is getting to tax tribunal appeals season. So people who have been to the Board of Review and received their decision, or commercial properties that didn't need to go to the Board of Review, have the option here in the summer months to file tax appeals with the Michigan Tax Tribunal. Those are something that I've worked pretty closely with the assessor in past years. At least initially, there's some timelines that need to be met to stabilize those appeals. And then once they're stabilized, they take a matter of months to go through, but there's a matter of them getting served and seeing if there are any initial negotiations that need to take place, discussions, to perhaps resolve those on a summary basis, which doesn't typically happen. More often than not, just figuring out how the representation is going to work going forward at the township in those. And I can't say how many are every year, but I would say there's a handful. I would say, 3 to 6 or 7. And those are ones that I'm involved in that are within the full tribunal. There are also matters that go to the small claims division of the tribunal that the assessor typically handles on his or her own as well. So that would just be another line item that I would suggest that you have in mind as a board of things that might be appropriate for assistance in this transition.
That's a fantastic point, because he's right, the deadline is May 31st, but typically we don't even find out for approximately a week or two, because it takes time for mail to come through. So this is what I'm asking for. I understand, if the board doesn't want to move forward with it and just completely divest, I can figure it out, we can get through it. But I think it'll be better and easier for everybody involved just for the next 2 weeks. Now that the transition has actually happened, we know what it's gonna look like. Excuse me. We know what it's gonna look like going forward. We can actually take the steps over the next couple weeks to break up, so to speak.
Have you worked with the land divisions some?
I've worked with them,
With
but Denny's been the primary contact for all the residents, so.
Because I think there's 3 or 4 at least I know of, so there's quite a bit of work right
We
there
get,
with the
we got
division.
30 or 50 throughout the year,
Right.
every year. Yeah, we probably have 15 or 20 at this point, would be my guess.
That's a lot of work right there.
Yeah, which is part of the assessor's duties, and it's more, I wanna make sure that any communications that, he's had, and where he's at in those processes is properly conveyed. Cause there's only one shot to do the land division right, and I don't want it to get, messed up.
Well, are you ready for a motion?
Does anybody have
Point of
anything else?
information, please, will he have a title, or is this a contract, or?
I don't know if this would be a contract, I think we just keep him on part-time, probably.
Yeah, I mean, it is an agreement to pay him those things if he fulfills that assistance. If he doesn't and he heads to Mexico or something, we wouldn't be bound by it. As far as a title, I don't know. I would think that the title would not be related to the supervisor position and would be,
I'm not sure if title is even really necessary.
Assessor consultant or something along those lines. That's-
Yeah, that's all.
My thought, reading this over, I thought was a contractual employee, contracted employee to work $35 an hour up to 24 hours per week. A contract, like, separated from the township. Does that make sense? That he would be like a contractor working for us? So, if it was, and not have that pension, or not pension, but, insurance is tied to it, that would have a separation due to legal consequences, I don't know, or if there was a injury or something, is he still on our insurance, or when he terminates as supervisor, does that policy stop? I mean, that's a question I have insurance policy wise. So do we treat it as a subcontractor, like he was working for Denny's assessing company? We're gonna agree to pay him 35 an hour, 24 hours per week for the remainder of this month. Kind of a done deal type thing, just don't wanna set precedents if we have that happen some other time, and the legality, I guess, of insurance, if we had a accident or something, how would that work? What would that look like? I'm just one of those,
Do you have any
trying to
perspective?
think outside the box, make sure we're not gonna get into something that we don't want to be in.
Right, and that makes sense.
Yeah,
Emma's our quasi HR.
We have other employees that are basically kind of, like some of the other liquor inspectors, some of the other employees, but we, haven't, we're gonna pay Denny's $100 something insurance.
But is he still on
On
the insurance
our books.
policy?
Joel, do you have a recommendation of
Yeah.
whether an employee or
Because it wouldn't-
contract?
I don't, he has been
Oh, if we're just
an
giving-
employee. I think there's some element to continue that as, just with a different title of assessing assistant or something like that. And I don't wanna, I mean, that's significant money, but it's not significant money that you should go draw up a $5,000 contract for that. I think you could make the terms of it, and if it's fulfilled, you would honor that, and that's essentially a contractual obligation. If he does those things, he's entitled to that payment. So that would be my thought. I think if you get into the independent contractor concept, you're gonna spend the next 3 weeks kind of negotiating that. But, well,
I don't even really foresee this going to the end of the month. I think it's probably gonna be more a week or two, but I just wanna make sure that we get through it all.
I think the simplest path would probably be to keep him on as an employee and not an independent contractor. That's my initial thought. So I'm just
Excuse me, but
clarifying.
We cannot hear, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just said I think it probably is the simplest path forward to keep him on as an employee rather than set up a negotiation as an independent contractor. And I was just going to confirm that the request was $35 an hour, up to 24 hours a week, till the end of June with dental and vision. Is that correct?
Yeah, with dental and vision, and if we want it, if we're not comfortable with 35, or we're not comfortable with 24 hours, I mean, that's just kind of what I put together. But
I think it's a good plan.
I want a smooth transition for the residents. At the end of the day, that's the most important thing. And so if there is any concern of correspondence being lost or a disruption to processes they've already started with Denny, I don't think it's fair to the residents to have something potentially occur as a communication error if we have an opportunity to resolve that with the two of you working that out.
Mr.
It's
Chairman,
a good
just
transition.
to give you a little context, Kalamazoo area, a township is paying a superintendent who is parting ways with the community $341,000 for no transitional services. And I'm not saying, but I'm saying that, there's something to be said for a smooth transition where there's an exchange of information. I mean, there's been instances in this community, this township, other townships where people have had records and have not cooperated in turning them over, and I would never expect that from Mr. Kaiser, but it does allow for some continuity there.
Are you ready for a motion?
I'd say we get a motion.
I would make a motion to allow Denny to stay on at $35 an hour with dental and vision for up to 24 hours a week, to be done by the end of June, or through the end of June,
In his health insurance.
including the dental and vision, yeah.
He doesn't have health. Just
that
dental.
one, yeah, vision.
Motion and support, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Chairman opposed? All right, moving on to the next item. Township appointments. So these are the boards that Denny was appointed to. The fire board, the sewer authority, the revenue sharing board were all annual appointments. Then the airport authority is through the end of 2028. So these appointments need to be filled. I've been going to all of these meetings. I feel pretty up to speed with what's going on. I would feel comfortable if the board feels comfortable with appointing me to them. But
Are you gonna do the Walnut Lake thing too?
yeah, I don't think we have a formal appointment to that,
Okay.
but yes.
Okay.
But I think we need a motion. I don't know if we could do all four at once or if we have to do them individually.
You can do them together.
So we need a motion to appoint myself.
I'll make a motion that you, that we appoint the supervisor, current supervisor, Garrett, to be on the fire board, Harbor Springs Area Sewage Disposal Authority, Local Revenue Sharing Board, and Harbor Springs Airport Authority which runs through the end of 2028.
Got a motion?
Do you want just the remainder of the terms? Because the first
The
three
remainder
are,
of the
the
terms,
first
fine.
three are annual, and then the last one's
We only
20.
have one representative
That's
on each
fine.
of those,
Correct.
besides a board member, like fire board, rec board.
Correct. Yeah.
You go by yourself.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I assume so.
Support.
Motion and support, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Moving forward, Al, do you wanna come on up? I'll introduce it, but you're the professional here. So we got a FEMA grant request from the fire department. Looks like we're being asked, along with Resort Township, to put in a match for a grant that you intend to submit.
So the plan is to submit to the FEMA for a AFG grant. They released it 2 weeks ago. For approximately, we're looking at obviously a ladder truck, $2.3 million. I discussed this with Denny prior to him even submitting his resignation. The thought process is there's a 5% match, we have to match. But the thought process is if each township was to kick in $250,000, which is $500,000 total, that would help look at a buy-in to this grant, and maybe it gives us a little more points towards, working with them on it. Again, there's no guarantee on this, but again, I'm in that process, and what I need is both boards to basically make a motion that they agree that we move forward with this grant application. Under a contract with the two townships, I can't write any grants or apply for any grants, especially if there's any cost share, without board approval. I'm gonna go to resort meeting next Tuesday and present the same information. I've already kind of briefed them on it, and they thought it was a great idea also.
Do you need in our motion the match amount too?
No, I just needed a motion that we agree that we move forward with applying for this grant, unless you want to put that in there. I mean, that would be my recommendation, as we kind of put that, I'm writing the grant towards that, so it's up to you how you want to put
I
it.
think for Bear Creek, we want the 250,000 in there.
Yeah.
That give us more of the 24-ish, 25% match rather than.
Yeah, it comes out to like a 23-24% match versus a 5% match, we're,
Look good.
yeah, it just makes it look good on
Yeah.
paper.
Absolutely.
And just thinking back, I mean, we've received FEMA grants before too, and the area's received them, so this isn't even necessarily a long shot. We might not get it, but there is a history there. And without this 100-foot ladder truck, I mean, I got in my notes, the casino, hotel, Independence Village, Marriott, tribal apartments, those are all things that we struggle to cover with just our 75-foot ladder. Is that
Holiday Inn Express, the new hotel, out on 31
Holiday Inn Express.
West Road. The new condo project that went in out by East Park. There's another, the Summit project up across from the fire station by Bay Harbor. Those are all projects that, we just can't reach with a 75-foot truck.
I was just listing the Bear Creek ones as well together. And then,
But we're a joint department.
I mean, there's no cost unless the grant is approved.
That is correct.
And then, I mean, doing the math, like everybody said, I mean, if you can get a ladder truck for $250,000 when they typically cost 2.2, 2.3 million, and then you gotta get, equipment and stuff, so there might be some.
There's another
additional costs.
75,000 in equipment.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit more than that by the time we get it, but yeah.
That's like a Black Friday deal on a ladder truck. I would be in support of putting that towards.
I offer support to that.
Does anybody have anything else they want to add to that?
No, I think it's a great opportunity. We've worked with FEMA, we have those relationships already. You ready for a motion?
I'll make a motion that we put $250,000 towards the grant if Al ends up receiving it after submitting.
Support.
Do you need specific language?
There's actually no requirement for that, even in the grant, there's no requirement for
You just
resolution or
want it.
anything. It's just that I need it because our agreement states that I have to have board approval to do this.
So we got a motion and support. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to just enter in that we worked with the tribe for about a year and a half and with no results. A lot of it benefits them, but they decided they don't want to join us in participating in trying to get funding for a new ladder truck, but we should move ahead.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You got our commitment.
Thank you.
Next item here, I'll just let you take it away, the fees and procedures and.
So, as you know, we've moved forward with the fire inspector, we've been working on policies, we've been working on applications for, alarm systems, fire suppression systems, and, fees for those items. And so, because each township is independent, each township has to approve these for us to actually go out and to enforce this via the ordinance. Each township, approved the ordinance for the fire code back in 2017, so we have to come back to each board to get approval on anything we do that relates to the fire code. So this policy is just basically indicating how the fire inspector would go out in relation to timeframes if there's fails on inspections and the penalties for that, going back to re-inspections, and then the appeal process and enforcement action and documentation. And then you've got the application for alarm systems and detections, and then you have application for fire suppression and commercial hood application along with the fees that go along with that. We did not put any fees within any of the documentation. That way there, as the fees change, we only have to change the fee schedule versus having to change language within the documents themselves.
Do you want to introduce John? I just realized as you were talking, I don't think we ever introduced him in a meeting.
So John Spalding's our new fire inspector. We hired him in January. John's been working very hard on getting a lot of this stuff done, along with entering a lot of the data of the businesses and stuff between him and Garrett and Denny and even Mike Larson over at Resort, getting them the business addresses, and it's saved a lot of typing to be able to just transfer that stuff. So he's now working on an Knoxbox letter for the businesses to implement the Knoxbox system as it's part of the code. And we'll be sending that letter out here shortly to them, that they have basically a year to comply to that too. So what I'm looking for is a motion to accept these as documents to move forward, and then I'll be presenting the same thing to Resort next Tuesday.
So I've seen these go through the fire board, so you've seen these go through the fire
Yeah, we
board.
approved it as a fire board.
It was approved. I think one of the big things, you know, John had it in there from the start, but I think the fire board liked is that, you know, this is focused on compliance through education, not on just feeding our businesses to death. If you had a chance to really read the details, and it very much emphasizes, we wanna make sure things are right. You know, we don't just wanna collect fees. I couldn't even tell you on the fire department how many calls we've been to where their sprinkler systems weren't working, or their alarm systems weren't working, or things were 2, 3, 4 years out of date. So this is a real impact to save lives in the event that, you know, something goes wrong.
And the other thing to add to that is we're sending out a pre-inspection form before we come out there to do an inspection of the business. So the owner or operator knows what we're coming to look at, so they should have all those things done prior to us coming. So it should be just a walk in the park, but then again, if we have to go back because the exit sign's not lit, or, you know, they have some debris in front of, you know, an electrical panel or something like that, you know, there's no charge for that second inspection, but if they didn't fix it on that second one, then the third one, there would be a charge for coming back. And that was kind of what the fire board had said, and it kind of goes along with what Garrett was saying. We don't want to, it's more of an educational tool than it is a fee tool, so.
And I tell you, they'll get a final copy of that inspection was done so that they could show their insurance carrier.
Absolutely.
I would
Yep.
assume that's gonna help on their insurance.
Yep, so absolutely. We've had a couple, you know, I mean, I know we haven't had the policy in place, but we've had a few, and we've done this all along. It's been more of a courtesy thing. People call and say, hey, can you come do an inspection because my insurance company's asking for that. We just did the DHS building across the street, and, you know, their fire extinguishers were expired. I mean, they were 3 years out of date, you know. Their alarm system hadn't been inspected. There was no tags on it whatsoever. So, you know, that was one step, and it took a while to get that back into compliance, but we worked with them, and, you know, they're back and forth, and we finally got it. Then they got like you said, they got the okay from us that it passed everything, and then they send that on to their insurance company.
Awesome. Thank you, John, for coming aboard.
And right now, just so everybody knows, they're starting like with the commercial, like the hotels and the really big safety, you know, that the public uses, and a lot of those buildings are not in compliance.
Well, I can give you an example, since you mentioned the hotels. So the new City Express Marriott, which used to be the Quality Inn out there on the north side of town. Brian got a call that there was some construction work going on there without permits, and it was from another code enforcement officer that was from downstate on vacation up here. So Brian and I go out there and meet with them, and sure enough, they're doing all this construction. Well, we found underneath their stairwell, which is an exit stairwell, they had cut a hole in the underneath there to put a storage unit in there, just to store their whatever. That's against the rules, because that's an exit way, and you can't have any flammable materials. It's gotta be a corridor that's blocked off for fire, you know, for firewall, basically, partition, and they breached that. So, you know, that's just one example that we would have never gotten in there unless this guy had called us. I mean, probably because somebody would, you know, saw that they were doing work, but had we been doing annual inspections there, that'd have been something we could have caught, or biannual inspections on hotels, so. But again, we're a tourist industry. We want to, you know, serve our people that come here and spend their money and make it as safe as they can, so.
Well, thank you both. I think this is a step in the right direction for safety, and John, sorry to put you on the spot. I just saw you back there and thought maybe you should introduce yourself, but thank you both.
I got the titles of the policy documents that Al submitted to us up there. Unless there's any other discussion, motion will be in order.
I'll make a motion, we, move forward on these policy fees and the policy, all the, information that was presented to us.
You got a motion?
Application and permitting all the schedules, applications.
I'll second.
Motion by Tom, second by Joe. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None?
Thanks.
Thank you, Al. Thank you, John. Building Department, return of overpayment. Connie, I'll kind of turn this over to you now.
Okay, it came to our attention back in March, by a general contractor asking us to investigate his permit cost. So we did recalculate the fee and agreed that he did overpay for his permit. This was one of the largest new construction, residential constructions that we have done in Bear Creek. The permit and plan review fees were figured by using the contractor's estimated cost instead of the ICC table. And this wasn't what was adopted back in 2021. I would like to ask the board to approve the return of this overpayment and any others that we find dated back to August 21 until the new policy was adopted in April. And I have attached a copy of it's new residential homes and accessory buildings that are figured by the ICC table now for refund or return of overpayment.
So we had an issue that was discovered. We investigated, looked to see the extent of the issue, and this is the correction to make people whole. Understand that?
And that document is from our consultant that we hired to help us make sure we were doing things the right way, so we are gonna make it right, so perfect.
We've got, now that the board has adopted that policy, we've got, the policy in place, we'll follow it. It's not a problem going forward, this is just, we gotta fix what happened in the past and then move forward. I understand that. Okay.
I'm good.
I'm okay with that. I certainly think we wanna make it right and wanna make sure everybody's paying accurately for their permits. So I'd be in support of making the returns.
And one other comment, the table you put together here, spot on as far as all putting it all together, making sure we're getting the right refunds or overpayment, funding back to the right, homeowners or contractor or whoever it may be, so I guess it'd be the homeowner. Okay, thank you, Connie.
Do you need a motion?
Yeah.
I'll make that motion that we return the overpayments of permits to the, according to the list, and any that come in the future. If we had missed any, but I don't think we did.
So I went through and counted, there was, well, first we got a motion, do we got support?
Support.
Support from Emma. I went through the list, I counted, there's 36 permits, but really 2 of them make up 70% of this, because they're
Yes.
over 10,000 square foot houses. Just unfortunately it happened, but I agree, we gotta make it right. Any other discussion? Motion, support, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. And thank you for the chart that made it
Yeah, thanks,
much easier to understand exactly what was going on.
thank you.
Will that be included in the minutes, the chart?
I'll address that later. Next up, we have policy 5.9. Gosh, it's kind of hard to read on the screen there, but it's in the packet. So there's been a lot of comments lately about nepotism. That's the word that's being used. I think the intent behind that word is what this policy that we adopted previously addresses. There were comments made that we didn't have a nepotism policy, that we needed a nepotism policy. So we do have a policy that addresses, family in the workplace. So I wanted to bring this to the attention of the board and the public and make it available you know, if we feel like it's adequate, then at the very least, we need to take out the red line there. You know, that we use the MTA policy guidelines when conforming our policies, and that line just, you know, made it through the draft. If we feel that it's inadequate, then we can make additional changes if needed, with whatever we feel, or wherever we feel the inadequacy is. We did hear from the public, you know, they requested us to spend a little more time on this. I understand, due to the timeline of things, a lot of this stuff came out really close to the meeting. So if the board would feel more comfortable, you know, waiting to look at this and thinking about it, you know, we can table it. You know, if we wanna change something now, we can do that. You know, if we wanna leave it as it is and just fix the MTA line, we can do that. But I just wanted to make it available as an option for the board to look at, so.
A little time to look at it, a month would be good, just kind of check it, possibly.
Go through it.
Okay, just table it.
Just, if there's any tweaking we need to do or think about, so, would be my comment, I don't know what other people think.
I
If we wanna
did read
table
it
it, yeah.
very closely, and it's good. It's good.
And I don't know, you know, we never took a lot of these policies to legal counsel because we used them straight from MTA, which they do have their own legal counsel that reviews, but that could be an option too. I don't know if we wanted to send it to Joel to make sure that, you know, we are applying it in the fairest way, but do you guys have any opinions? Do we want to table?
You know,
Address it now?
I was one of the ones who helped with bringing these policies forward, so I know I've looked at them because I was working on them, but I certainly want everybody to have a chance to review them. I like the idea of having Joel review them. I just think a second set of eyes on things is always helpful.
Do we need a motion, Joel?
No, I don't. I'm a generalist. When it comes to your employment policies, you have specialized counsel that looks a little out of those things. And if you think you're getting close to those lines, I would suggest that they would be a better resource on what the current standard state-of-the-art is for that. The comment I would make is that in preparation for your discussion on this, the little bit of looking that I did said that there's a balance you need to strike. And you can't just ban it outright because it's too broad and it's constitutionally suspect to just say, we won't employ any people that are relatives. So the balance then comes in that you get into this line that I'm seeing in some of the language here that talks about you won't be supervising relatives, you won't have them in the same department or something like that. So, but there is a balance there, and it's not just wide open that you can just say, we ban, our township will not hire any two people that are related. From what I'm seeing is that is too broad, and you need to come up with a more definable standard that says the reasons why you're doing that, and that's basically because you don't want people getting favors from somebody in supervision, hiring, promotion, those kind of things. So, I mean, I can help you in a general basis by looking at that and saying, you know, that seems to be what that's accomplishing. But if you want a formal opinion on it, I think you would want to probably look at maybe having the Micah Myers folks take a look at it, because they deal with it every day.
Thank you for,
Okay.
and you want me to take it to Micah Myers and then bring back?
Do you want to
other
get a cost
recommendations?
estimate or and come back to us, or you just want to give it?
If I get a cost estimate, then it'd be approved in July, so we wouldn't look at it till
Yeah.
a month after that. But, which we can do, but it just depends on how.
I guess the cost is what it is, so.
I don't have a frame of reference for Joel, maybe you'd have a frame of reference for what something like that
I
would
really
cost.
don't. It's,
Well, why don't I get a cost estimate and bring, I mean, we're not gonna make any rash decisions. It
Correct.
sounds like we wanna take our time and make sure that it's right.
In the
Sure.
past, something about this much of work, it was a couple $1,000s. You know, it could, you know, it's attorney fees, which I'm okay with, but it wouldn't be bad to know how much.
just one more thing I'll throw in from the little that I know is that this is talking about employment context. This is not talking about election context. And there are some times when they overlap, but as far as I understand it, this board has no power to add requirements to the state of Michigan requirements as to who may sit at this table in this official capacity. So, there are certain standards that are in play for who can be elected or appointed to a position at this table. You cannot add to that and say, we ban any related parties from sitting at this table. So I just want to make sure that that's clear, that there is a distinction between those two. This is only in the employment context. Okay.
So do we want a cost estimate from Joel, or do we want it from Micah Myers?
Micah Myers.
Micah Myers, you want, I wouldn't need a motion for that, I'll just bring it.
I'll make a motion that we.
I don't think we need a motion.
Oh, okay.
Do we need a motion to table? I don't think we do.
I don't think so.
I don't think we do.
You have the policy
We
that's
gave
in
you
effect.
direction.
Yeah, it's in
Direction to-
yeah.
After reviewing that, I think we
Search
can
it out.
explore that.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay, last item on the new business here, we had the sewer meter reader, say that 10 times fast, position put out.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna recuse myself from this discussion on this proposal, or not proposal, due to the fact that the applicant is a relationship, and I have no financial but for my own, I'm gonna step aside on this one, and I'll recuse myself to the audience. I don't wanna be part of this discussion.
Oh,
If other board members are okay with that.
Yeah.
yeah, if you recuse yourself, you should probably step out of the room.
It says I can stay, but I'm gonna step out.
Okay, do you have your key to get out
Yep.
the door? Okay,
Yep. Okay, thank you.
thank you.
I'll be back, officer. Somebody come get me. Thank you.
So we had one applicant for the position, which was Dustin Yearman, and his application was in the packet. He's Tom's son, obviously there's relation there, and that's why he's recusing himself. With only one applicant and it being a family member, I wonder if we put it back out for another couple weeks and see if we get any more applicants. We have to have somebody in the position. The sewer meter reader doesn't report straight to the board. The direct supervision would be the supervisor. But personally, I'd feel comfortable if we gave it another shot to see who else might be interested in applying. I want to do our due diligence and see what else comes through. I did talk to Don, the current sewer meter reader. He was hoping to be done after he does his June readings, but he is willing to go as late as fall. So, if we get somebody in before fall, which would be the goal either way, then they could still go out with him during that time and kind of learn where all of their meters are, or all of the readers are. They can learn how to do any repairs that might be out there, because it's sewer meter reader, but it's reading, but it's also repairing, because sometimes they get moved, wires get pulled out, things get snipped, whatever the reason, it's got to be fixed always out there. So it does have to be somebody that knows what they're doing. It's not just a scan the number and then you're done. But given that he is willing to stay until fall, I think that would be a good idea personally, that we go back out for another 2 or 3 weeks and just really do the due diligence to see if we get any more applicants. Does anybody have any other comments they want to
That's
bring to
fine.
that.
I'm comfortable putting it back out.
It's fine. Yes.
So I don't, where did this get advertised before? Was it just on the website? Did it go on Indeed?
I think it was the website and the chamber.
Can't hear you, sorry.
The website and the Chamber of Commerce website?
The newspaper seemed like it was kind of a bust. But I wonder if we don't put it on Indeed ourselves, and then it seems like that's what the newspaper did. They just turned around and put it on Indeed, which we can do, and then that way we can control what the application actually says. Is there anywhere else that we wanna put it? It'd be Indeed, the website, and the chamber, which is free to post. I think the posting itself was probably fine. I don't think we need to make changes to the posting.
Okay. All right. Do you want a motion to that effect?
Yeah, how long do we wanna go? 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah, because it sounds like whoever's gonna be doing it needs to go with Don and do, the two of them. So we have to have some time.
Yeah, we probably won't be able to get them with
Till
them in
next month.
June, just cause by the time you get schedules
July.
and interviews, if there are more people, it'll probably be the fall one, but.
But 2 weeks would give you time to get the information before July packets.
That's true, yeah. Do you wanna make a motion for 2 weeks?
I'll make a motion that we advertise for sewer meter reader again, in all the locations that you just said, chamber and, our website and whatnot. And that we, it'd be for a 2 week time frame.
Support.
Yeah, motion and support, any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? You wanna grab Tom?
The only thing I would say is we can treat the applicant we have now as already being received in this new round. You follow? Yeah,
I agree with that.
okay.
All right, commissioners report, and Brian, I see you over there. Is this your first meeting in the new hall?
It is.
You might have to turn the mic back
Beautiful.
on too.
I hope you walked here.
I actually drove straight from work, I didn't even go home.
Oh, did you?
Haven't been home yet, so.
Not too much on the agenda, or my report tonight. Parks and Rec, we met yesterday at Camp Petasiga. We all took a look at the beach that washed away due to the high water levels and the wave action. All of our sand is gone. So once the lake levels are gonna be receding, which they're falling about a ½ inch per day, but they're still 9.5 inches above summer levels. So Crooked River is still closed. With it dropping a ½ inch, you're looking at, per day, you're looking at another 19 days before it's back to summer levels. And then after that, we're gonna evaluate what it's gonna be if we wanna reestablish our beach or not. One of the bridges that we have at Camp Petasiga is partially underwater, or it's still flooded, and it's closed to vehicular traffic. And as soon as the water level is low enough, we're gonna have an engineering firm come in and take a look at it and make sure that the bridge is still okay. DPW meeting, we're meeting tomorrow morning at 9:30, with the road commission canceled, make sure everybody's gonna be there in time. Airport, we met Tuesday, May 26th. The United flights have started as of May 21st, which is, we have Delta and United, so up to 4 flights a day we've got now, which is really nice. The airport was closed though due to the flooding for 20+ days. And we had one runway closed until May 26th, so it was closed 4 weeks. But I did hear on the radio on the way over that the runway is now back open, so we got the airport's totally wide open. There's some major projects that are going to be happening or are happening currently at the airport. We got brand new carpeting upgrades. We've got a new roof going in. Elevator repairs, resurfacing of the taxiway, and we got a big contract paid by the feds and the state for PFAS cleanup. And speaking of PFAS, the Village of Pellson, with their $40 million federal and state grant, they have bid out their water system. As of the meeting on May 26th, we didn't know the results of those bids yet, but $40 million is a pretty good chunk of change, and no match. So I mean that's a good thing for the village. Fairgrounds, we met May 14th at Epler EMS. We heard from Pam Gibson that the ticket sales for the Travis Tritt concert were already at 1,000, and the ticket sales for the rodeo, we're doing a rodeo this year, we're 455. So the sales of our events are way ahead of schedule from the previous year. We did hear from Art Shaw. He's been our maintenance guru at the fairgrounds for 25, 30 years. He needs two handy people to help him out during the fair week. He lost a couple people that aren't willing to do that this year because of age. And he also announced within 2 years he's gonna need a full-time replacement, and he'd like to work with somebody full-time at least for a year. So if you know of anybody that is a handy person and is willing to work at the fairgrounds, Art knows everything about it, and he'd be willing to show everybody what needs to be done there. So, but any questions? That's my report for the night. Yeah, Joe.
So, and I touched on this, though, your sand project, but along MDOT's, the highway there, what are they gonna try to build that back out?
Eventually, when the lake goes down, yeah, they'll have to get some Army Corps of Engineers permits to reestablish that, so, yeah.
They'll put sand back, or are they gonna try to go around?
Couldn't tell you, I'm not involved with that anymore, so.
As I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Garrett, you attend the road commission meetings, I don't know if Brent talks about that at all?
He brought it up at the previous road commission meeting, just that it was a big unfortunate situation of a mess. They didn't have any proposed solutions yet. I'm not surprised that the Army Corps of Engineers is gonna be involved.
Nothing? Appreciate it. Thank
Thank
you
you
very
very
much.
much, Brian.
Thank you.
Always appreciate you being here. Planning and zoning report, Emma?
Not much to report. We did not have a regular planning commission meeting in May. And we're still waiting to hear back from our consultant. So stay tuned for a future master plan meeting. Like I said, we don't have a date for that yet. We're waiting on the consultant.
Seem pretty full, Mitch? Al, I got a bunch of photos here, so if you talk, I'll try and match them up.
So this is some drilling that we did. It's actually here. The retention pond, it's out back. If you haven't been around there, there's a nice retention pond there, and the water seems to be staying. So we actually utilized it. We did a drill down here, drafted out of it. You can click through. Where's the other? There should have been 2 for the drill. But anyways, we drilled out here, drafted out of that. It worked out really nice. Probably in the summertime, we'll probably actually use that as a fill site if the water maintains there. This is a structure fire that we had mutual aid with Springvale Township last Friday. This call came in with smoke showing in a building. They arrived on scene, had flames in the roof. They called us in for manpower and tanker assist, and pretty much, as you can see, it was a total loss. The moral of the story is don't burn in your burn barrel when you're pretty close to your house. This was the call we just had last Friday. This was on Fletcher Road. This semi was coming southbound on Fletcher Road, came up the hill off Picker Lake Road. On Wednesday of last week, we actually got called out there for a low hanging line. John went out there, evaluated the situation, called dispatch, told them that Charter needed to come out and fix the line. Charter never came out and fixed the line, obviously. And this semi came up and ripped that down. And the interesting part is we just had training, and one of my documents here is we just had training with Great Lakes Energy on Thursday. And basically, they explained, the 3-phase, explained what was hot. Always treat it hot unless you know that it's not. And obviously we treated this as a hot situation. One of the lines came down and actually started a grass fire, as you can see in the next photo. And unfortunately, but fortunate enough, nobody got hurt. a state cop was in the middle of that section between this building and where that truck was, and lines were all over the road, and those lines were still hot. So, you know, we had the training, you know, we told the driver to stay in his truck. He was worried about the fire. We assured him there was no fire in his truck, that it was, you know, in the grass, that if anything changed that we would notify him, but obviously everybody came out of it safely. So for our training topics, we did pump operations like you saw. We did some PED trauma assessment for EMS credits. We had Great Lakes come out with their trailer. They have this really nice trailer that's mocked up as a power line system. Goes through, you know, how the fuses work, how, you know, pulling meters, you know, the whole 9 yards, and it was very, very informative. The guys learned a lot from it, and you know, I think anybody, you know, Tom knows, anybody that's around power lines, you see them down, stay away from them. You know, you don't know if it's hot, and it can be backfed. He gave us a indication that somebody out East Mitchell ways, they were feeding 4 houses off their house generator. They backfed it through their generator and was feeding 4 houses and never knew it, because the transformers that you see on the poles can do it both ways. It's either up power or down power, and that was something I didn't know. And so, you know, he said it just went there and up the power and it fed the rest of the houses. So you never know if they're live or dead, so we always treat them that they're dead. We had 28 fire calls this last month. Really, we didn't have anything besides what you saw as kind of significant fires. We had 4 PI accidents, 6 brush fires that were just pretty minor brush fires, nothing more than a couple acres. We did install 8 smoke detectors and 2 CO detectors. We have gotten some more applicants asking for detectors. They see it on our website. They've reached out to us. John's been pretty good about going out and reaching out to them. We did participate in a program at the college, and we got probably another 6 or 8 contacts there, but most of those contacts weren't in our area. But we've reached out to those departments, and they are providing them smoke detectors. Two things that I'd like to bring up too is, and I've been talking to both townships a little bit about this, and our guys, we brought this up. You know, one of the hot topics that's been here is about your law enforcement hiring another police officer, or continuing with your existing police officer and doing your liquor inspections. I'd like the board to consider that we look into hiring another full-time firefighter that works basically 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. so we have some nighttime coverage. And with that said, we can actually incorporate doing the liquor inspections. The state law allows us to do that. There's a few things that we can't do pertaining to the liquor inspection, which your current liquor inspector can't do anyways. So we'd be following that same suit. But because we have full-time code enforcement officers, we could actually do that liquor inspection, and it's not just law enforcement's required to do that. So that'd be something I'd like the board to consider in the future. I know it's not a topic we want to discuss today, but I think it's something that we can consider looking at. The other thing I had was, you mentioned about roads. I think Joe asked about the roads. I did reach out to Art today because I was indicating about when they were gonna do it. He said probably next week they'd be out on resort sometime, so within the next 2 weeks, so. That's it.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Al, if your proposal for hospital is 6 p.m., 6 a.m., 12-hour shift, 1 guy, 2 guys?
1 guy. At this point, I mean, I'd love to have 2 guys, but we start out with that, build up from there. I feel that the citizens of our community deserve that service and the response that they're gonna get for that service. You're gonna get more from the fire service responding than you're gonna get from your law enforcement services. Not that our law enforcement don't do a great job, but if there's a B&E, if there's a shoplifter, they're coming to that anyways. And I had a gentleman tell me one time, if you think that you have somebody breaking in your house, you're better off to call the fire department because you're gonna have 20 guys show up versus a cop because you're gonna have 1 guy or 2 guys show up. So I take that seriously, that I think that it's gonna benefit the department, it's gonna benefit the customers, which is our township residents. The other thing about that is it's gonna help our ISO rating. We just went through the ISO credit. I haven't gotten a report back yet, but that is one of the questions that they asked. Do you have nighttime staff? And we don't. So we would gain points for that. That also helps the residents with their insurance ratings. So,
Any other questions for Al?
Thank you.
Thank you, Al. I think it's something that can be looked into. We do have a fire board. Kind of like to see the fire board work through some of the details maybe
I
first.
was agreeing on that.
Bring something to the township boards. Some of the details that would need to be figured out, especially if we're looking at possibly blight and liquors. How does that look, you know, with firefighters responding to both townships, what they're also for blight, liquor, and Bear Creek? Not hurdles necessarily, but I think things that gotta be asked. But I'd like to see it go to the fire board before we do too much here.
I agree.
Looks good.
Parks and Recreation. So first, the Parks Plan. I know we've been hearing a lot about the Parks Plan. Parks Plan's coming. Did not get the plan itself back yet. There were a couple edits that we had changed from the Parks Committee, and I will have it back probably in the next week, I'm guessing, with all those finalized edits. I know we're getting requests from the public. They want to see if we are going to have a public hearing. Once I get the plan out, we'll have it back on the website, you know, for people to review. We'll get the public hearing posted, and I see it happening just at our July meeting. You know, at that point, the board would hear the public, and then if there's anything else, but I'm gonna probably have the Parks Plan out to you here maybe next week, so that everybody has plenty of time to look through it. You know, it is a lengthy document, not as lengthy as the Planning Commission's master plan, but, you know, it's still quite a booklet. Jones Landing, the swimming area and the buoys are out. Went out Saturday and put those in. The water was probably 45 degrees, but within 30 minutes of them being out, there was already like 5 people in there swimming, so it's the right time to put it out, I guess. But there was actually quite a few people utilizing the park, and just in the 5 or 6 hours I was there, I probably received 10 compliments from people stating what a nice park Jones Landing is. So, you know, we should all be proud of that as residents, that we have that park in our township. The signs that the board approved are in production. Your signing designs, they're really ramped up right now with the weather, just like everybody else. So I expect we'll probably see those get installed at some point this month before the July meeting, but I don't actually have an actual date for that yet. Spring Lake Park, there's no update outside of what I provided with the renovation update. Tanton, there's no update. Evergreen Trail DNR site. If the wheel of local government turns slowly, the wheel of state government turns slower. So still no update there. But I have been pushing and prodding and talking, and they say they're looking at it and everything. So the next meeting for the Parks Plan did get moved. It would have been on Monday. You know, with everything kind of up in the air with the township, we moved it to the 10th to kind of get past this week. And we're gonna have that meeting down at Spring Lake Park, because presumably the park will be open at that point. And of course, that'd be weather permitting, if there's any chance of, or if it's actively raining, or if there's lightning or anything like that. And we move the Parks Committee meeting back up to here at 1710. We do have the pavilion, so if it's just maybe a threat of a rain, we'll probably stay down there. But just so everybody's aware, and we have that posted and everything as well. Does anybody have any questions for me on the park side of things?
And that's 6 o'clock, right? For the
6 o'clock.
audience.
6 o'clock, yep.
On the parks, at Spring Lake Parks, I was down there last Friday prior to, we had that, they kind of took the barricades away and people were coming in there. We had to kind of put a stop to that, of course. But there was 3 couples there. One was from Mullet Lake, another couple was from Charlevoix, and someone was coming from Traverse City. But they meet there yearly, a couple times in summer. They said the same thing. What a beautiful park we have. Compliments to all the crews and everybody that did work down there. So they said, do we have to leave? They had their Subway sandwiches. I said, no, you're fine, but just be careful. I said, all there is a porta-john there. because the bathrooms closed, and they said that we're fine with that, so, they said, thank you for letting us stay, I said, just, be careful, so. But they were very complimentary of our park, it was beautiful, they said, so. They'll be back, they said, so.
Well, I'm excited for people to get out there, this project. I wish it had opened up a couple weeks ago. It was easier with it being closed when the weather was bad, and now the weather is beautiful. But I think people will be very happy with that as a trailhead. And any other questions?
No, good things come to those that wait, though.
It's gonna be worth it. It is worth it.
to
It is
them.
worth it now. Oh, and I just saw this today, so it's not in the packet, but the Jones Landing has the boat wash site from the Wallen Lake Conservancy, and they sent over kind of like a usage index. So somebody was crazy enough to go out in April and fill up their tires and use the brush, or maybe somebody was just testing it out. But as we start to see, warmer weather, you can see May, June, July, August. Those are really the busy months at Jones Landing. But it's great that it's being used. It's supposed to help keep the invasive species down, which in turn keeps the lake in a healthier condition. Correspondence. I got a couple things here. Again, some of this stuff I was just kind of seeing, so I didn't have multiple copies to hand out. But we did get from the MTA, there's a training session coming up in July, just for strategic planning. We kind of went through that with the Cindy Dodge already, but if anybody is interested. We also got a request from the Walloon Sailors. It's a nonprofit that teaches kids how to sail on Walloon Lake, it looks like. They're asking for a gift, which I don't believe that we can do as a township, but I didn't want to bring it up. But I read through it, it sounds like it's a pretty decent program, and just make it available to the audience if anybody has kids that want to learn how to sail. And then we did get an email from Ryan Frisky regarding the request for credit adjustment for the building permit. Do you feel like your email has been addressed at this point?
I do, just one statement, and maybe it's more formality that I wanna put on record that I think I was overcharged, and that you guys stated that all this is overpayment, but I do think you made it right with how you did state it and calculating it correctly from now on.
And that's all the correspondence that I have. Any questions on any of that?
Thank you.
Supervisor assessors report. So this is something that it's not really been on meetings prior. I kind of like the idea. I don't know exactly what it would look like. Just added this on here when I was making the everything up yesterday. So there's really not much on there, but just so the board is kind of aware of some of the things maybe, and the audience has asked for transparency, and then if I just have anything to share, this gives maybe a dedicated spot. As far as the assessing, timing has been pretty busy the last week. We had to turn over everything to the county for their July audit for the summer tax bills. So we got all that turned over, or I got all that turned over for the tax bill mailings. But one of the things I did want to bring up, at this point in my application, one of the things I brought up was that I wondered if the township should seriously consider doing 2 regularly scheduled board meetings, just for planning purposes. We're a big township. I haven't looked at it from the state. Tana, I think you said that we were in the top 20% or 25%. We have had a lot of special meetings. Granted, a lot of those are because we went through 3 capital projects in a year and a half, one of which is done. We're still wrapping up 2 of them. And then we've had this supervisor thing. So the supervisor thing, should be done with special meetings at this point. But even before then, we've had some pretty long regular meetings in the past. And part of the problem is sometimes things come up, a day after a meeting, and some things you just can't wait the 30 days. But maybe you can wait 2 weeks. So I don't want necessarily any decision to be made tonight. I just want to get it on the board's mind, the public's mind, if, you know, they wanna speak up, at you know, any public comments, but.
After thinking about it, we've used usually the Wednesdays for, it really seemed to work out for everybody's schedule. I was thinking maybe like if we kind of earmark the third Wednesday, you know, it won't interfere with planning commission or anything. The third Wednesday, if we had to have a meeting, those would be kind of the, and if we didn't, like you said before, if we didn't need to have a meeting, we could post it, you know, no meeting or something on the door or on the website. But I just was thinking that the third Wednesdays kind of seem to work. I don't know about the rest of everybody, but.
I think we'd all have to take a good look at our schedules and see what's,
I did
what's
mine,
fair.
and yeah, that's why I'm saying it.
But just something to think about, because I do want it to
That
be
is
on the
fine.
agenda as an actual item. I think it warrants discussion. And like you said, if we don't need it, we don't have to meet for no reason. We can cancel a meeting, but at least then, you know, the public can plan around it, we can plan around it. It's just a little bit easier that
Yep.
way.
Good thought.
I'm gonna get to DTE here. I didn't bring this up in the appointments, I forgot. But one of the things that Joe, you brought up during the interview process was attendance of meetings of things, and one of them you brought up was the county commissioners meetings. So currently, you know, we don't have any representation when we go to the county commissioners meeting from Bear Creek Board. And obviously, we've got, you know, Brian and Don as our county commissioners. But does the board want me to attend county commissioners meetings? Do we want that presence there from our township board, or are we okay with, you know, them doing their thing? There's pros and cons, you know, cons, it's another 2 meetings. Pros, you know, sometimes stuff does come up and you don't know necessarily it's gonna be talked about unless you're there. We've seen that, you know, at other meetings, we've seen it at the road commission, and there can be that benefit of being able to speak up during a public comment, but
And those
I didn't wanna
meetings
make that
are
decision.
which nights?
I think Monday and
Monday is
Wednesday.
the one, and then
Usually it's
Thursday.
the first Monday and it's the
Thursday.
second, or the third Thursday.
Thursday.
But it changes from month to month depending when that Monday hits, so.
And maybe it's not feasible with timelines, because the first Monday is typically our Parks and Rec meeting, and I think it should be at a Parks and Rec meeting, not the county meeting.
Usually you can take a look at the agenda too, and if there's something on the agenda, then you can decide if you want to attend or not. Usually online.
Does the board have an opinion one way or the other? Do you want me to monitor?
I think I'd monitor the.
Yeah, and then let us know. I think
agenda.
we should go if it involves Bear Creek.
Okay.
Brian keeps us.
You keep us pretty well
I
posted.
really appreciate that, so
Yeah.
that's awesome.
But I would echo your concern, if there's a Bear Creek meeting, obviously you'd be at that first. Yeah.
All right, well, I got a little bit of direction there. Just
Yeah.
wanted to get clarification on it. The DTE, this has kind of come up in some meetings. The gist of the story is that DTE is putting in, and I might not use the exact right language, but they got, you know, one station over in Resort, and they're putting another station over in Springvale, and they're combining them with some form of main, somewhere between 8 and 12-inch main, for servicing needs and such. To do this, obviously, they have to go across, you know, residents' properties. Some properties are more impacted than others, but we tried to get DTE to possibly come to even this meeting, and they weren't gonna come up. If you recall, I told you guys at the last meeting that they got a whole, you know, slew of people that it sounds like they're gonna be coming to the county commissioners meeting. It's at 6 PM on June 8th. I haven't seen an agenda posted, but that's what they're telling me.
Just got it before I came over here.
Okay, so now, yeah, officially then, so I intend to be at that meeting. I know we have some residents with some concerns that have been asking. There's gonna be project managers there, it sounds like there's gonna be engineers there, and we just couldn't get that posse to come into Bear Creek, and I think, you know, people have questions, and the right people need to be there to give those answers, and we couldn't do that at Bear Creek, but I
That's-
intend to be there.
So, I'm sorry, the 8th,
June 8th.
June
Next,
8th.
next Monday.
At
Next
6
Monday.
PM
6
is
PM.
when the meeting starts.
Courthouse. Thank you. Thanks, Gary.
So I know there's a question, Stefan had a question about it being an agenda item. Not really an agenda item, but I do want to keep the board abreast of it because it does impact, quite a few of our residents. If anybody has any questions on that, I don't have too many answers, but I know some stuff.
All the residents that were following it know that it's at this meeting, as much as you know of anyway.
As much as I can tell people, I've been trying to keep them abreast, and things have kind of flip-flopped on a weekly basis sometimes, but as much as I can keep people aware, I've been doing so.
Might wanna move that to the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
We have in the past moved people into the courthouse rooms and zoomed in. So-
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, yeah.
And maybe just a couple other things on stuff that I can answer. There's a question about well reports to the city of Petoskey. I've not seen anything about wells from the city of Petoskey, but I do agree that, we need to make sure that we're doing our due diligence. If they do put that pump, the well is already drilled from what I understand. The pump house is, people say colloquially the well. The pump house is what they have to put on there if they need to increase water capacity. I do agree that, we need to do everything we can to make sure that people aren't impacted, but it really is the city that manages that and runs that. But I intend to stay on top of it, and if anybody needs to reach out about it, they can reach out to me directly, and I'm happy to share as I get anything. Meeting synopsises after each meeting. I agree, I think that's probably, a good idea. Some things are just procedural, but anything of note would be good to share. I might even take it a step farther. Sometimes we go to classes. It might be beneficial just to share even 30 seconds of, what we learned at the class, what we took away from it, how we're gonna, benefit the township from that class. There's a question on assessing. A resident shared with, in regards to feeling her comment. So since then, the assessing department has investigated, and we have not gone on any properties with finals with Brian without talking to the property owners directly first. There are different departments around the states that are doing it differently, but we've just kind of taken the stance that, we should talk with the property owners directly. We do have a policy that you have to wear identifying information for all of our workers, whether it's assessing or building department.
You wear your shirt, don't you?
I have
With the
a vest,
badge.
I also have a badge, depending on what I'm doing, sometimes I wear the badge, sometimes I wear the vest. So if anybody has any questions on the intricacies, I'm happy to answer them, but as far as the question on assurance, that has not happened since that comment came up. We did look into that. And then a question about the chart in the minutes. Typically, packet items don't go in the minutes. The minutes are just a recounting of the discussion. Let's see. I think that's everything I got here. That's my supervisor assessor report. Does anybody have any questions on any of that?
Would you say the date of that DTE thing again, please? The date of the DTE meeting for commissioners?
June 8th at 6 p.m. It's next Monday.
Thank you very much.
And that's at Emmett County, that's not here.
Yes.
And Mel, I'll turn it over to you for the clerk's report.
Yep, I have bills in the amount of $339,628.83. You all received a copy of those bills. Did anybody have any questions on the bills?
You answered mine earlier.
If not, I would move to pay the bills.
Okay, a motion
I'll second
and a second from Hoffman. Any other discussion? All in favor?
it. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And the only other thing I have for you is, election prep for August we actually kind of preliminary started. And we're gonna be really rolling here in a couple weeks, but Lizzie's been really hard at work, kind of helping out with election stuff while I've been helping get us to the point we're at with this new supervisor. So Lizzie's really stepped up to help, and I'm really grateful for her, but we'll be full steam ahead here.
Thank you, Emma. Did I see that we also, we either submitted or we're getting a reimbursement for the election that we had too?
Yep, so school elections are reimbursable, so I submitted a reimbursement request to Shawram and Petoskey Public. Shawram did cut their check back, and I have not received the check back from the public, or Petoskey Public yet, but I don't know what their meeting schedule is, because it has to go to their board first, so.
But you're on top of it. Thank you very much. Treasurer's report, Connie?
I attached the report account balances as of May 31st. And, the summer property taxes will be mailed out July 1st. And then, I also attached all the building permit, or building reports that I do. And then Brian is going to talk about the building department.
Brian, you might need to turn the microphone on. I don't see the green light on.
So we'd like to have a couple documents here that we printed off to show you and folks here tonight about the inspections that we've done in the past month and the permits. So the number of permits that we've issued were in May were 47, which is down quite a bit from last year. Sometimes you have great months and sometimes you have slow ones, so it's just kind of the nature of it. As far as the inspections go, we had 155 inspections last month, which was up a little bit from the previous, so we are getting toward the end of some bigger projects. Some of the obvious ones are obviously this building, the park. I was at the park today working with them. The Quality Inn, we're getting real close, wrapping that up. Hopefully a temporary occupancy for that building within the next couple days. And the Awaken Credit Union, they're probably within a few days here of getting an occupancy permit as well. So just some of the stuff that we've had to go through the last month. And if you guys ever have anything other than what we've been putting up the last couple of months, feel free to let us know. We can put up whatever you'd like if it's more than what we have, so.
I like this. I like being able to see the different permits that you're doing. I really like the comparison so you can see, because sometimes it feels busier, but it's not, and sometimes it doesn't feel too busy, but you look back and you're, oh, I did a lot of work. So the comparison is nice. The various types of permits is nice. I do appreciate you guys sending that over for the PowerPoint here. Thank you.
Do you think this year is actually down, or it looks inflated, like, because last year with the ice storm, there was more permits?
Last year was a very high year for us. That's gonna be a tough one to beat, I think. So you're probably gonna see some of these numbers a little lower than they were last year.
It actually looks like, just looking here, so 23, 24, that April was 70 permits, and then 24, 25 was 66, 26, 27 was 65, the outlier being, last year was 93, so we kind of holding steady, maybe down a little bit.
Down.
That's what I'm wondering, if maybe last year was inflated with the ice storm. Like, we're not actually really that down this year, potentially, I don't know.
Correct. Any other questions for Brian? Thank you, Brian.
Thanks.
Appreciate you being here.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Connie.
Connie, thanks.
Sewer bills, business, there's no RUs to approve. So we just had the bills, for total amount $94,435.90. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'd make a motion to approve the bills.
Support.
Got a motion and support. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? We can pay the bills. And we're back to public comment. Carla? Mary, I got you on a close second.
I think I've got 4 things.
Bring that microphone down.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, right, I don't want to fall out though, so, there you go. Thank you, Mary, you're welcome. Okay, the policy about the employment of relatives, I think that this is talking about something different than what was being brought forward. I don't think when people were talking about the nepotism, the favors and the connections, that they were talking so much about how people are employed. This all really came to a head when there were the planning commissions and the projects and that sort of thing. And it was more of those connections that we were seeing, the connections between one group and the other, especially with planning, with the township, with the county. Awful lot was going on there. And again, I will say, not nepotism for money, who's voting for what, that's what was going on. And so I think if you're just gonna talk about nepotism with the employment of people, you're missing the boat of what was being talked about. The second thing I'd like to say has to do with what our fire chief just brought up. Brought up many good things, but one of the things was brought up in a meeting here before by a commenter, and it had to do with spending our money on our own township within the fire department, rather than spending $127,000 or however much it was to put into the sheriff department, which they're supposed to already be taking care of us. I don't know if you can rescind any kind of a vote, probably not, because you already agreed to spend it. But I don't know if the county is supposed to also okay that, what you guys said you would go ahead with. But I think it'd be worth checking out. That $127,000, it sounds like it could give us a whole lot of service by going into our fire department rather than going to something that the county's already getting $9 million toward our public safety. And then this is just a comment toward the gentleman asking for an attachment, well, for something to be added into the minutes as public record. I know when I would read my things like I give to you guys at a county meeting, I would just ask for it to be added into the minutes, and it would be added in as an attachment, and it would, under public comment or wherever, it would say, see public comment number, or see attachment number 1, and it would be what I had entered, or what I had, what I gave to you guys. And then, am I picking up now that we have an assistant clerk? I didn't see that. Maybe it doesn't have to come before the board, but is Lizzie now an assistant clerk or just doing some of that work? I'm just wondering what the situation is there. Do we have an assistant clerk at this point, or do we not?
Let's get through all the public comments and then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Carla.
I just wanted to say thank you for speaking about that, Garrett, very much, I appreciate it. I think a lot of people don't realize that you need permission to come into someone's home. And I realize that very well, so I appreciate you speaking on that. Also, I did want to say thank you to Al for his report. I would, once again, like to have a report from the sheriff's office. It's very informative to see what's been going on in our area, and I really appreciate that. But I also think that I have only sons, so I've had my fair share of, accidents and whatever. The fire department is always there, and they have been there at every accident my sons have had, and not that they've had a lot, but it is such a good feeling to know that these men they're not there to, hand out a ticket or something that sometimes maybe people might feel a little nervous or antagonistic. They are there to help. They will climb in a vehicle, for safety and to speak to you when you're trapped. I mean, so I back the fire department all the way. And it sounds like they can take care of some of the difficulties that we've had with some of the duties that the sheriff might be able to do. Right now, I can't think of what it was but the liquor stuff, and I don't exactly even know what the liquor stuff is, but that can be taken care of by them. I would very much appreciate that. So I back the fire department all the way. God bless you all.
Thank you, Mary. We are blessed to have a really substantial fire department with some fantastic guys.
Howdy. Yeah, I want to echo the support for the fire department. I find that the Resort Bear Creek Fire Department is like a real point of pride for this township, and I think anything we can do like this hall to invest in them makes a lot of sense. I like the idea of the more coverage, and I like that we always get reports from the fire department in every meeting, and I feel like we have skin in the game. I just think it makes a lot of sense, and the idea that it could potentially lower insurance rates and have direct benefits seems like that's like exactly how government on a local level should work. So I really appreciate those points. A couple minor notes. I had a really productive call this morning with Garrett about some of these topics, but I'm quite concerned about some of the optics of how these meetings present and how things go, okay? And whether it's nepotism or not, a lot of the decisions that this board makes, exist in the court of public opinion as much as anywhere else. And so I care deeply about this township and that we make sure we're doing right by those we represent. So in terms of the meetings specifically, the county always puts the packet online with the agenda, but the township does not put the packet online. But the packet is digital and it is able to be provided if requested. But it seems like in whatever new website design we come up with, that should be pretty easy to pull off. The county does it very well. I find it very effective. On the building department report, love the permit comparison, something the county does, very helpful. Wondered if those could just include year-to-date numbers as well, not just a month-by-month snapshot, but a year-to-date. And then, okay, a couple other thoughts. One, the engineering study for the concrete. 13 grand is crazy, you guys. Come on. I know it's other people's money, but that's a huge number for a study for concrete. Not only that, the firm discussed is one of the few members of the Zoning Board of Appeals. I would politely request that this board ask that individual, Mark Boudet, recuse himself from any cases that involve Bear Creek Township on the Zoning Board of Appeals, because whether or not there's an official policy, the optics of somebody receiving $13,000 from the township making a decision at the county for the township feels risky. Similarly, I want to acknowledge the optics of being willing very easily and logically to go 2 more weeks to get more applicants for a quarterly sewer meter reader than the township supervisor. That is not a critique on Mr. Muir. That is just an acknowledgement that I think all of us reasonably understand that getting more applicants makes sense. That is a position that is 10 to 12 hours per quarter. This is 25/7 as described at Monday's meeting. Lastly, on the matter of hiring Mr. Kaiser or not firing him or whatever we're doing, we've got a little bit of a Schrodinger's assessor here. He's both resigned and employed. It cannot be both. It can be a contract after the fact, but this idea of extending benefits to a contractual employee, I am not concerned about the $119, but I'm very concerned about the optics, because Mr. Kaiser could have left, he could have left due to sickness, he could have been incapacitated, he could have been fired, and we would have to have a continuity plan in all those scenarios. Getting passwords passed off should be part of his resignation, not extra credit after he's resigned. In any other job, when somebody voluntarily resigns, this information is provided if things are cordial. It's not provided if they're not cordial. It is ridiculous that they would then seek compensation or be offered compensation in this case. You cannot resign and then be rehired. You are definitely not an employee of this township if you just resigned and it was made effective at a public meeting. That's crazy. Whether or not it's legal is not the point. The optics are very, very concerning.
Thank you, Brian.
Nate Hall, I wanted to say the other night, I did want to congratulate you, Garrett, but you were busy shaking hands with other people, and I will get with you together soon, because I have a lot of questions that I want to go over with you. I also had a question about that $13,500 bid, because I guess after Brian just brought up, as I sat there, I was dumbfounded, because I sit on the ZBA board with Mark Boudet, and so it is something for you guys should discuss it and talk about that. And I wonder, did that get put out for bid, or did you guys just pick Mark Boudet's company? I'm not really sure how that worked. One other question I had is, how far away are we from Zooming? I knew we ordered the equipment, and I thought, unless we haven't yet. And then I just had one more question, and it's for you, Garrett. Will you be hiring a new deputy supervisor and assessor to assist you with business? And other than that, that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Nate.
I am just looking ahead to the next township board meeting, July 1. I think it's on the schedule. Possibly that there would be a housing brownfield TIF on the agenda. The developer and the brownfield consultant may be asking for a concurrence or an approval from the board on that date. I don't know where it stands right now, but I'm just, it's only a few weeks away, and if they are coming as they did, I believe last time for a presentation, kind of very last minute, I could anticipate that happening again. I want this board to be prepared. I hope you have been continuing to do research on the whole TIF tax deferment issue. I expect that the board, not the brownfield consultant, who has obviously a vested interest in having this be presented by his words, his reports, and all of that, but I would expect that the board could be ready to answer questions and give explanations. There's a lot of information there, a detailed analysis about the project, funding or not, eligible activity budget. I think you need to provide justification to the residents that is this incentive worthwhile, given that would only be 20% of the apartments in this project. 80%, how I'm understanding, would still be market rate. The projected return on investment, risk to taxpayers. What if the developer sells? What happens to that tax deferment? How are all these documents going to be publicly available? And obviously to residents, but to others too. And really, just auditing expenses to ensure compliance. I know that that's part of the brownfield, the board authority. But ultimately, I guess, what is the community getting in return? An explanation of that. And I know too, I'd also ask, because it could be 27 years out. I think it was 30 years initially, but maybe they've changed that as well. But just how is that going to impact services year by year, and which services provided? Because it's been talked about fire department, EMS, library, and on, etc. So again, July 1, if it happens, And they are expecting that there's concurrence, that this board will agree with this TIF project or this TIF deferment for the Intertown project. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Holly?
Holly, welcome. And I just wanted to say, I was glad to hear a few other very common sense kind of comments that I thought I was also running through my head about, like the 13.5 for just architecture. I mean, not just, but for just the kind of plans for fixing that. That seemed really, really like a lot of money. And I have thought that in this situation, but also in other meetings too, I've wondered why there was just one kind of contractor picked and they were given the bid. Like I totally understood you guys are saying this is a safety issue, need to be done, but I didn't hear anybody on the board saying 13.5, oh my gosh, or saying like, did we get any price for anybody else? So that's just for future comments. I think that could be important. I wasn't the only one thinking it. And the other thing, remember what I was thinking? Oh, the other thing I totally agreed with is I was having a hard time not chuckling to myself that we were postponing putting out longer time for the sewer meter reader. And we didn't do so. We picked pretty quickly on our supervisor position. But it seemed like a very qualified, very respectable young man who wanted this sewer meter reader position. And it really wasn't even talked about him, and just decided to make that longer because we needed to do that. That just seems quite comical also, but just a little strange when you had a very good applicant and could have just went ahead with that. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Holly. Shauna?
I think Brian actually really harped on this well, and that's that optics issue. I feel bad for Tom because I don't know if when you were putting your agenda together, you said, here's the nepotism policy, and then let's talk about Tom's son and a job. But the optics, I literally sat there and went, oh my gosh, you gotta think about how these things look when you put them together. So I'm sorry that's one thing I would like to ask, and it's probably of Emma, is that it would be very helpful if at the end of the minutes of every meeting, it said when the next meeting was, or any special meetings. It used to be a fairly common thing to do and doesn't seem to happen. So that would be appreciated. I wanted to say a few things about the TIF. You and I were talking about the city and annexation. And I want you to keep in mind, when you say, oh, in however many years, then we'll get all this money. There's from the TIF, once the TIF is done, that we'll get this tax money from it. Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't think we would get it.
You'll eventually, after the TIF is done, you get, they'd start paying it to you.
Township.
The township, so long as that is still part of the township when you do it.
And as long as the building is still standing.
And as long as the building is still standing, so keep those things in mind as you do that one. Additionally, if they do say, well, we're going to contribute TIF money to, or we're not going to capture the part from this fund or that fund, that means that money's not, they're still gonna capture it, but it's gonna put more of a burden onto us. Okay, so the school sinking fund, maybe they'll say, well, we'll give them that money. That's great. Whatever they're giving them is gonna get made up most probably disproportionately by Bear Creek Township residents. Okay, so if you think about the math of that and how that works, I'd like you to keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll bring it back up to the board. Does anybody have any other business to bring before the board?
I can answer Carla's question.
Yeah.
So Carla, I do have an open posting for a deputy clerk. It is on our website and on the chamber's website and on Indeed. In fact, I should go on there and make sure it's still live, because I've had to refresh it a couple times. But you have to have a deputy when you are, you have to have a deputy as the clerk. There has to be a sitting deputy. And so as an interim capacity, Lizzie has agreed to step back into that role until I find someone. Which has been very helpful, because this is a very busy time of year for us. Anytime we hit a even year election cycle, and she's very knowledgeable on it. So I've been really grateful to have her help in the interim, but yes, the posting is still open.
Thank you,
Are
Emma.
there other places where you could do some advertising?
Let's not go back and forth, but I do want to address some of the other things that were brought up. Brian brought up the packet availability online. That's come to this board multiple times. Emma has expressed that she does not feel comfortable making that decision on behalf of the board, having the packet online available for people to just grab. From what I understand, it's not currently available. People have to request it. Is that right?
Yeah, it's not as much my uncomfortability with it being out there. I just didn't want to be the one sole person making the choice to put it out there. So if the board wants to do that, we can do that. I just want that to be a group decision, that's all.
So I don't know, Joel or the board, I mean, I'm comfortable talking about this, but it's not on the agenda. We have a full board. Are we able to discuss that, or is that something that would need to go on to the agenda at the following meeting?
I think with your full board, you're welcome to discuss whatever you'd like to discuss.
So I'm gonna be the one that's putting together the packets. I think that the packets are public document anyways. I think, the people that care enough to come here, they wanna see what's in the packet. I'm for making that available. I think that when we get our website, what I envision, these decisions are gonna come before, the board or maybe a committee or something, but what I envision is easy access links for things like the packet, the minutes, the agendas, all those things, similar to how the county does it. I mean, I agree. I think there's no reason to have that burden to ask.
Will you, once in a while, have to amend the packet? If there's something new comes up that has to be addressed, how would you?
I think that.
We always get, go ahead.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, if any immediate, last second, highly critical information comes up, I don't want to withhold anything from the board. But I think the goal is that, when we have a deadline for our meeting, and obviously this meeting was just wacky with timing. I mean, there's no getting around it. But going forward, in my head,
it might be more normal.
I would like to personally have the packets available by Friday, so everybody has at least the weekend to look over things, because people do have jobs and everything. We'll see how feasible that is in real life, but I think with that comes having some sort of deadline for stuff to get in. Again, if something absolutely critical comes through and the board needs to see it, we'll get it in there. I would not envision taking the packet down and then updating it. I think that would just go to the board.
That's what I would want.
Because I don't want multiple packets floating around and then somebody feeling like they don't have.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
The one caveat to that would just be, if we have this deadline, our board meetings are pretty early in the month. We sometimes have them on the first of the month. And things like the building department report to give the month, the previous month's work. If our deadline would be the 25th, that's 5 days it would be missing. So and that's not necessarily a problem, but it would be something that we needed to be aware of. And maybe that's something we can discuss looking forward, but I would be for putting the packets, availability online. I think it'd be much, much easier to implement once we have the website. I mean, I think just wait till the website. But I think when we have the website, it should be out there.
So would you put Emma's report and Connie's on? Sometimes you don't know until just about with the bills and stuff coming in and all that.
So I think everybody's individual reports stays coming from them to the board.
Okay.
The packet is typically more
the
what I put together for the month.
Yep. Okay.
Culmination for the meeting.
Fine.
that's a big thing I wanted to address. Get the year to date on permits. I don't know how complicated that is. I mean, it'd be nice to have it if you can do it.
It is in one of those reports.
On the document that you normally
Oh,
see
you
that I
mean
screenshot
to the
over here.
screenshot, yeah.
The normal.
A couple comments on the quote that we approved. And maybe this is just semantics, but it was said that concrete was to 13,500. It's not just concrete, it's also, structure bearing pillars for the awning. So I do just want to clarify that it's not 13,500 to square up a couple 8x8 blocks of concrete. It's probably more, the bulk of it is the structure bearing pillars to make sure that that's all tied in together.
And on top of that, I think in his quote, I read through that document, that in the structure of those have to be replaced and refigured to the columns and not just the footer.
Yep.
So there's a lot of structural and engineering. It says structural and architectural and structural engineering in that document. I read through it, so.
The engineering
that's where I
is the-
feel comfortable with that price. Yeah, it was a lot just for a slab of concrete, but there's more to it than that.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware. I'm not trying to say that you're wrong. I'm just saying that I just want to make sure everybody's aware. There was a comment, and maybe I misheard it or misunderstood a township supervisor. So I was not applying to be the sewer meter reader. Just to clarify, I don't want to be the sewer meter reader. I've got the 25/7, like was stated. So maybe I misheard that, but just to clarify, that was not my application. Zooming, I stated earlier in the meeting, under the fire department updates, that the material has been shipped but not received yet by the installer. I'm hoping that it'll be in before the July meeting, but until he gets it, he can't schedule it. Most of the stuff is pretty basic, but the big fancy box to connect everything has to come from a special store, I guess, but. I do not plan on hiring another deputy supervisor. This position does require to have an assistant in the office. I don't think that they need to necessarily be deputy supervisor, but there will need to be an assistant assessor of some type. One, because of workload, but two, because so much of this job is being out of the office, and even taking the supervisor things completely out of it, the assessing itself being out of office, doing inspections. And I think it's important that we have somebody as much as possible in the office, available for people to walk in, available for phone calls. And it's just not feasible to have that office coverage in one person and the job. So that's how I feel about that, but I don't intend to do a deputy supervisor, at least anytime soon. I don't see the need. Housing TIF, I think all that's, that was mentioned multiple times, all those things are really good points. This stuff's gotta be looked at with scrutiny. This is not something that is, I don't think anybody on the board intends to look at things, from a high level. I mean, we haven't received really in-depth documentation. I've not heard anything about them coming onto our agenda. When we get that, it needs to be looked at, and absolutely right, there needs to be public benefit. People might disagree on what public benefit is, but I mean, it's all gonna be here at the public meeting, and I encourage, when that documentation comes out, for people to read through it in the public and to also provide in public comment, their concerns so that, we can take those into consideration. Next meeting in the minutes, I don't know, Emma, what historically that was. I could see that being difficult possibly if meetings change. In some ways, there's a burden on somebody to double check that the meeting hasn't been moved or canceled, or that there's a special the next one. I'd hate for somebody to look at the minutes, see the meeting is gonna be the next regularly scheduled meeting, then a special meeting does get scheduled, and then they feel like they missed it because it was misrepresented. But, I mean, Emma, I don't know if you have anything you wanna add to that?
My initial thought, it's not a bad idea, my initial thought would be to mimic, I don't think you could put special meetings because those are so random, for lack of a better word. We just don't know when they're gonna be until they come up. But what we could do is to mimic what we have on the planning commission agenda, which is the next regularly scheduled meeting. So at the bottom of the agenda for planning, it says next regular meeting, whatever date. because we set the dates for the regular meetings, usually annually, we have that list. So we could put that on the agenda, just next regular, and then the specials would just be, you know, as they arise. So those, would that be okay?
Yeah, and I think. the thing that
Let's
you-
not necessarily
Sorry,
get back and forth.
Sorry,
I think it's addressed, and
Yeah.
I think we got a path forward here, some direction maybe. And I skipped over here, sheriff's report, you know, it's been brought up multiple times about seeing a sheriff's report.
Yep.
I don't know necessarily what that would look like. I truly do not think that it's feasible to ask the Emmett County Sheriff to come to our board meetings every month. But I could see, a path forward where we get maybe a report on what kind of tickets or what kind of stops or what events or something. I'm not sure exactly what it would look like, but I do agree that maybe a report of some kind would be nice, whether it's monthly, I don't know, quarterly, whatever, but I'll make a point to reach out to, Sheriff Learstein and see what we can put together and see what that might look like. I hear you.
His annual report is next month.
His annual report will be at the next meeting, so he'll also be there. If anybody has any, you know, questions, feel free to bring him to that meeting. He probably won't be addressing things directly, we'll be addressing the board, but he'll be there. Unless emergency, of course. I think that's everything I got. Any other business?
Good.
Look at that. 2.5 hours, that's not too bad, right? 9:30, we are adjourned.
First time.